The next thing we're going to talk about is users. So if you click on users, it's going to show you all of the users in your system. Right now, it's just my administration account. It shows you the username, their actual name if it's inputted into the system, their email address, the current role, and the number of posts that they've created. Now, one thing that I do recommend, and it's going to require a second email address from you, because different user accounts in WordPress need a unique email address. But one thing that I recommend, just for a minor security protection, is to create what's called an editor account for your website, and that editor account will actually manage all of your content. And the reason is we want to kind of separate the administration of the site from the front end of the site. So there's 5 roles that come with WordPress out of the box, and that is the subscriber, which is just like a normal registered user. They can usually post comments and things like that, edit their own profile. It's the basic and general role that people are applying to when they register for a website. The next is the contributor, and a contributor has access to the posts part of your administration dashboard, but only their own posts. So they can create posts in the system, but they can't publish them. Anything a contributor adds to your site has to be approved by somebody at a higher level before it can go onto the site. The third level up is author, and authors can both create and publish their own articles without having to wait for administrator approval, but only their own. The fourth is editor, and editor is kind of manages all content in the system. When it comes to posts and pages, they can approve articles, they can write and publish their own, and they can also edit and manage other posts from the other users in your site. And then we have the administrator, all the way at the top, can manage everything, can completely destroy your website, can do all kinds of cool stuff. So we want to keep that kind of separate from the content. I'm not sure if it shows up on this theme, but a lot of the time, yeah, here it is. So on a lot of times it shows the author's name on the front end. Now we can change that, but just as a general rule, I like to keep those things separate. It's not an absolute necessity, but if you do have an extra email address and you don't mind logging in with a different account depending on what your goal is, I just feel like it's a nice extra step to keep content management separate from website administration. And you're going to be able to do most things when it comes to updating your website with that editor account anyway. So if you want to add an editor account, you would just click add new, and this is also for adding any users to your website. Add in a username, an email address, the first and last name. The website and things like that are optional. It will automatically generate a password, or you can put a specific password in. If you're making it for somebody else and you want them to get an email with their username and password, you can check this, keep this box checked. It'll send them an email with a link to the site and their new username and password. And then their role. So this is where you would select the editor for your second account, or a subscriber for just somebody that you want to give an account to on the site, and click add new users. Now, to go back to what I was saying about having this show up on the front, regardless of whether you're using an administrator account or an editor account, you want to go in and add in the first and last name information that's shown here, which I'll do quickly, and then some kind of nickname, right? So we'll just do Latte Press. And then this display name publicly as, I can then change that to either some combination of my name or my nickname, and that's usually what I use. And you want to make sure that this is different from your login name. So you see before, like my username is just a bunch of different arrangement of numbers and letters, and I don't want that to be shown. I want that I create those usernames intentionally so they're not easy to guess. They're just kind of random strings generated by a program. But I don't want, if my username is shown, I don't want that username to be shown, because then they have 50% of my login information. So we have a display name publicly as Latte Press or Latte Admin or whatever you want to create for your site, and that will then show up everywhere, including the front end of the site. So if I update this now and I go back to my blog entry, you can now see instead of my actual username, it's showing just Latte Press. But if you hover over it, you can see at the bottom, the URL to the author is still showing my actual username. And that's, again, one reason why I prefer using an editor account. Now, as long as we have secure passwords and things like that, it's not really the biggest deal for them to have your username, but I figure with just a little bit more effort, we can really keep things even more secure, and it's almost always worth it. So that's creating users and viewing users in the back end.
I'm heading out to see the rest messing the world.